The rain poured heavily on the red earth of Adaeze, a small Igbo village nestled between the rolling hills and lush forests of southeastern Nigeria. The trees swayed around with the winds, whispering secrets of ages past. The villagers huddled inside their mud brick homes, safe from the deluge, as the river swelled with the weight of the storm. In one of these houses, a solitary figure stood by the window, watching the downpour. Her name was Adaeze. Her story was one of silent suffering and unspoken sorrow. Adaeze was a bright and beautiful young woman, her skin the color of ripened kola nuts and her eyes deep and expressive. She was the pride of her family, known for her gentle nature and sharp mind. Her father, a respected elder, had promised her hand in marriage to Nnamdi, a man from a wealthy family. Nnamdi was tall and handsome, with a commanding presence that drew respect from others. The marriage was arranged, as was the custom, and Adaeze entered Nnamdi's home with hope and dreams of a future filled with love and children. The early days of the marriage were filled with intoxicating excitement of a new beginning. Nnamdi showered her with gifts and spoke sweet words that made her heart flutter. Adaeze did her best to please him, cooking his favorite meals and keeping their home spotless. She wore the beautiful wrappers and jewelries he bought for her, hoping to be the perfect wife. But as time passed, Nnamdi's true nature began to reveal itself. He was a man of insatiable desires, never satisfied with what he had. He wanted more land, more wealth, more everything. And his dissatisfaction extended to his marriage. He began to find fault in Adaeze, criticizing her cooking, her appearance, her very existence. These sweet words turned into sharp barbs, and the gifts became chains. Nnamdi demanded absolute obedience, expecting Adaeze to fulfill his every whim. He would come home late, reeking of palm wine, and demand food. If it was not to his liking, he would throw the food on the ground, causing her incompetence. He insisted on having a son to carry on his name, but when Adaeze failed to conceive, he blamed her, calling her barren. The villagers whispered about Nnamdi's behavior, but no one dared to intervene. It was not their place to interfere in a man's household. The nights became Adaeze's greatest torment. Nnamdi's insatiable desires extended to the bedroom, where he treated her as nothing more than an object to satisfy his lust. He took her roughly, without regard for her pain or discomfort. Adaeze learned to bite her lip and hold back her tears, her body bruised and her spirit broken. She felt trapped in a prison of expectations and cultural norms that left her with no voice, no escape. In the daylight, she wore a mask of normalcy, hiding the bruises with makeup and smiling through the pain. She continued to cook and clean, to serve her husband and his guests with the grace expected to be a good wife. But inside, she was crumbling, each day a struggle to keep her head above the waters of despair. She longed for a child, a companion to fill the void in her life, but her womb remained empty, a constant reminder of her failure in Nnamdi's eyes. Years passed and Nnamdi's cruelty only grew. He started to openly court other women, flaunting his infidelities in front of Adaeze. He brought them into their home, laughing and drinking with them while she served them in silence. He taunted her with their youth and beauty, comparing them to her and finding her lacking. Adaeze's heart shattered a little more each time, but she endured as was expected of her. One fateful night, Nnamdi came home in a drunken rage. He accused Adaeze of cursing his manhood, of being a witch who had brought him misfortune. In his fury, he struck her repeatedly. The blows landed with a sickening thud. Adaeze fell to the ground, her vision blurred with tears and pain. As he stood over her, his face twisted with anger. She realized that she could not endure this any longer. But where could she go? What could she do? The weight of her silence pressed down on her, suffocating her. The next morning, Adaeze woke up in a haze, her body aching and her spirits broken beyond repair. She dragged herself to the river, hoping the cool water would soothe her wounds. As she stared at her reflection, she saw not the vibrant young woman she once was, but a shadow of herself, hollow and lifeless. The river seemed to call her, offering a final escape from her suffering. She returned home, her mind made up. Adaeze wrote a letter, her hands trembling as she poured out her heart on the paper. She apologized to her family for the shame she had brought them, for her inability to fulfill her duties as a wife and a mother. She forgave Nnamdi, not for his sake, but for her own peace. She folded the letter and placed it on the kitchen table where Nnamdi would find it. Adaeze, dressed in her finest wrapper, the one she had worn on her wedding day, she walked to the river, her steps light and unburdened for the first time in years. She stood at the water's edge, the sun setting in the distance, casting a golden glow on the landscape. With a deep breath, she stepped into the water, letting the cool water envelop her. She walked deeper and deeper until the water was over her head. The weight of her silence lifted as the river carried her away, her final act of defiance against a life that had never been her own. The village mourned the loss of Adaeze, their whispers now tinged with regret. They spoke of her kindness, her beauty, and the quiet strength she had shown in the face of unimaginable pain. Nnamdi read her letter, his hands shaking as he realized the extent of the pain he had caused, but it was too late. Adaeze was gone, her story ending in a sorrowful silence that echoed through the village. In the end, the river became Adaeze's grave, a place where her spirit could finally find peace, as thought by the villagers. Meanwhile, on the other side of the river, a young man who had just returned home for vacation was traveling through the village for sightseeing when he heard a loud thud. Hearing this, he went towards the thud to check what happened. Adaeze's story was a reminder of the unspoken sufferings many women endure, hidden behind the walls of tradition and expectation. It was a tale of a woman who had given everything and received nothing in return. A woman whose voice was drowned in the tides of silence. And so, the rain continued to fall in Obinze. The river swelled, and the villagers carried on with their lives. But the memory of Adaeze lingered, a silent reminder of the weight of silence and the cost of unspoken suffering. Until next time, please share, like, and subscribe. Bye.